प्रणाम महाराज।
Swami ji. So it is time to start. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Sahana Bhavatu Sahanu Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavivireeditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadaatatam Bhuvi Grinanti ye Bhurida Janaha. Let we be protected, let we be nourished. Let we strive with energy and vigor. Let our study be enlightening and not give rise to hostility. Om, peace, peace, peace. Your nectar-like words and warm and inspiring life stories, eulogized by learned sages, are indeed eradicator of shoots of knowledge, shoots of ignorance. These are auspicious to hear, and it's propitious to inculcate in one's own life. Those who take these words to the world are indeed great benefactor of the world. Let us also recite a hymn to Sri Ramakrishna. Achandala pratihatarayo yasya prema pravaha lokatitopyahanajau loka kalyana margam Trailokepya pratima mahima Janaki prana bandhu Bhaktya jnanam vritavara vapuh Sitaya yuhi Rama Stabdhi kritya pralaya kalitam Vahavutham mahantam Hetva ratrim prakriti sahajam Andhatamishram Geetam shantam madhuramapiyah Simhanadam jagarja Soyam jata prathita purusho Ramakrishna Stvidhanim Soyam jata prathita purusho Ramakrishna Stvidhanim Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva Shakti Samudra Samudhatarangam Darshita Prema Vijrimbhitarangam Shamsharakshashanashamahastram Yami Guru Sharanam Bhavavidyam Yami Guru Sharanam Bhavavidyam Advaita Samahita Chittam Prajjala Bhakti Patavita Vrittam Karma Kali Bhuta Cheshtam Yami Guru Sharanam Bhavavidyam Yami Gurum Sharanam Bhava Vaidyam Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva. He who was Sri Rama, whose stream of love flowed with resistless might, even to the Chandala, outcast. Oh, whoever was engaged in doing good to the world through superhuman by nature, whose renown there is none to equal in the three worlds, Sita's beloved, whose body of knowledge, supreme, was covered by devotion, sweet in the form of Sita. He who quelled the noise terrible like that at the time of destruction arising from the battle of Kurukshetra, who destroyed the terrible yet natural night, ignorance of Arjuna, and who rode out the Gita sweet and appeasing. That renowned soul is born now as Sri Ramakrishna. I surrender myself to my Guru, the physician for the malady of samsara, relative existence, who is as it were, a wave rising in the ocean of Shakti, power, who has shown various sports of love divine, and who is the weapon to destroy the demon of doubt. I surrender myself to my Guru, the man God, the physician for the malady of this samsara, the relative existence, whose mind ever dwelt on the non-dualistic truth, whose personality was covered by the cloth of supreme devotion, who was ever active for the good of humanity, and whose actions were all superhuman. May his name be ever victorious. So this is a hymn to Sri Ramakrishna. We are here to cultivate devotion. Knowledge has its own purpose and own goal. Knowledge is also good. But devotion is just. We must dedicate ourselves, leaving aside everything, and dedicate ourselves to the divine. The devotion is nectar. Knowledge is good, but takes away lots of our energy. Of course, it also gives direct knowledge. But here, without spending any resources, we can directly connect to the divine. God alone is there. All other things we see, it is all false. Sampada tava Sripada. Your divine feet are in reality alone exists. And this whole world is like a water in a hoop mark. Therefore, we should not fear this at all when we hold fast the feet of Lord. And Sri Ramakrishna said, the goal of human life is to attain devotion, attain knowledge, attain and to have the realization of God. So we are studying Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. And here we'll see Sri Ramakrishna would ask his disciples what they thought about him. That is why I thought it is befitting what Swami Vivekananda thought about him. That is why he expressed this through this hymn, what Sri Ramakrishna was. Sri Ramakrishna was embodiment of Rama and also Krishna. Rama and Krishna, the same Rama and Krishna, embodied this time as Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna told himself to Narendranath, he who was Rama, he who was Krishna, now he has incarnated in this time as Sri Ram, as Ramakrishna. So this is, and what is the nature of that? The nature is he covered himself with devotion, but inside it is full of knowledge. His mind is totally poised in non-dualistic reality. Advaitattvam samahita chitta. Prajwala bhakti patabrita vrittam. And his devotion is like effulgence. So we are not to neglect knowledge, but we are to hold fast to devotion. So let us go ahead with our study. Paul, are you ready?
Yep. Let me make sure we're at the same place where we left off. I think we are. I'm on number 28. Is that right? Each devotee had a different answer, or is that not right?
You can start from 27.
Okay. Whoopsie. Whoa. Okay, there we go. 27. Why it was natural for the master to evaluate someone's spiritual progress using this method. The foregoing statement will undoubtedly surprise the reader, but a little thought makes it clear that while there is some reason to be surprised at the idea, it was nonetheless reasonable and natural for the master to act that way. Because the master realized absolutely that he embodied a unique manifestation of spirituality, he had no alternative than to behave accordingly. We have tried to explain this elsewhere in this book. The master had endured long and superhuman austerities and meditation, and he had attained samadhi, thus destroying any trace of egoism and eliminating any chance of delusion or error. He was then granted an uninterrupted memory of his past incarnations, as well as infinite knowledge, and he realized in the depths of his heart that the new spiritual ideal that was manifesting through his mind and body had never before been witnessed. So naturally, he had to believe that those who truly understood this and tried to mold their lives in the light of the ideal he presented would find their spiritual progress to be easy and smooth. For this reason, it is not surprising that he carefully inquired whether his disciples realized that he embodied the highest spiritual ideal and whether they were committed to building their lives in accordance with it.
Yeah, so it requires a little explanation. You know, a jeweler understands what is precious and what is not. Say a precious stone, a diamond. An expert will know this is real and it is not fake. So Sri Ramakrishna would ask his devotees, what do you think about me? By gaining answers, he would assess how far that person has progressed. Because it is not simple. Only a person who has understood the high ideal highest ideal, he would alone understand who Sri Ramakrishna is or was. First, he had no sense of ego. No, we have sense of ego. How it has come? It is because of ignorance. Avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, avinivesha. So because of ignorance, we think we are limited. And we are not universal. And because of this ignorance, this asmita, aham, ego, I am, this idea comes. And when this idea comes, then we like something, we dislike something. So avidya leads to asmita, ego, and ego leads to liking and disliking. This is very natural. So not to worry about it. It is very natural. Only thing what we have to do, we have to submit this ego at the feet of God. As Sri Ramakrishna has no ego. Though he would say sometimes that I am, but it's like a child. Child also says I am, but child knows that this has no meaning. So similar, Sri Ramakrishna would say sometimes, but he had no ego. And secondly, he had no kama, no desire. And once he told to him, Mairi bolchi, I'm swearing that I have no kama, no desire. So this is not ordinary. This we have to understand. And all the sadhana, all our effort is to get rid of this avidya, kama, karma. Because of ignorance comes desire. And because of desire, we have all kinds of work that we do. We perform devotion. We perform our actions. We perform our actions because of to fulfill our desire. I want to make money, so I must strive to get more money. So Sri Ramakrishna had no ignorance, therefore, and resultantly, he had no liking and disliking. And also, there is no karma, and therefore, no karma. One can ask why he was working then. It is apparently for us. It is for Loka Sangraha. That is given by mother. He would say that I am only vehicle. Ami jantro, tumi jantri. I am only a vehicle. It's mother who is working through this. So total surrender. So this is very important. And here he would assess a person by getting his assessment about him. That is why it is so important. Yes.
The master expressed this conviction to us in various ways. He would say, the currency during the reign of a Nawab, a Muslim governor, cannot be legal tender during the reign of a Badshah, a Muslim emperor. If you follow my instructions, you will reach the goal directly. Those who have reached their last birth, who have finished the repeated cycle of birth and death in this world, will come here and accept the spiritual ideas and ideals of this place. Your chosen deity is within this, pointing to himself. If you meditate on this, you meditate on your chosen deity.
So here two things. One is that, previously also incarnations came, but Rama was Maryada Purushottama, whereas Krishna defined dharma according to the situation. Maryada Purushottama means Rama established a tradition and a standard. This is the standard, like what a son should be, that he is obedient and he is devoted to his parents, and how a husband should be, how a father should be, a king should be. All these standards were set by Rama. Whereas Krishna is very playful. It is because the time was different. Similarly, this is also a different kind of time. Here, everything is universal. So Sri Ramakrishna came to enunciate what is universality. How we can perceive the same truth following various paths. And that he did himself. He followed various paths and attained those things. So his suggestions or his ways, samsara bhava roga vaidyam, is the physician of the ailment of this world. He himself did it. In his long 12 years of sadhana, he himself went through the path and then he gave that prescription to us. Therefore, we are to follow him. This is one thing. Second, he is our chosen ideal. Apparently, it is very difficult how a person, ordinary person like us, can be our ideal. But one has to pray. One has to pray to the Divine Mother. Then in course of time, one understands, yes, he is our chosen ideal. So this is what he said now. Yes, go ahead.
The reader will understand this if we mention a few examples of how the master discovered whether the above ideal was gradually gaining ground in his disciples' hearts. 28. Each devotee had a different answer to the master's question, "What do you think of me?" Those who had the great fortune of meeting the master and receiving his grace knew that sometimes he would suddenly ask them privately or in front of a few other devotees, "Well, what do you think of me?" He generally asked that question after a devotee had visited Dakshineshwar a few times and was somewhat acquainted with him. Sometimes he would ask the question during the first meeting and sometimes a short while thereafter. We know that he asked this question during the very first meeting with those devotees whom he had seen through his yogic vision long before their arrival. Each of his disciples answered differently when asked. Someone said, "You are a real sadhu." Others said, "A true devotee of God," "A Mahapurusha, a great soul," "A Siddha Purusha, a perfect soul," "An incarnation of God," "Sri Chaitanya himself," "Lord Shiva himself," "You are God," and so on. Some who belonged to the Brahmo Samaj and did not believe in divine incarnation said, "You are a lover of God, of the same rank as Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, and Chaitanya." A Christian named Williams expressed this opinion. "You are Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the embodiment of eternal consciousness."
Okay, here, who is William? There is a note, footnote.
Oh,
We are reliably informed that Williams, after he had seen the master a few times, became convinced that he was a divine incarnation. He gave up the world at the master's advice, went to the Himalayas, to the north of the Punjab, and passed away there after practicing hard austerities. Yes.
We cannot say how far these people really understood the master, but their answers indicate what they thought of him and what their conception of God was. The master evidently understood the answers in that light. He behaved with and instructed these disciples according to their spiritual outlook and temperament. As the embodiment of all spiritual moods, the master did not disturb anyone's belief. Instead, he helped the disciples to grow in their own ways so that they might eventually realize God, the highest truth beyond space and time. But he always carefully observed whether the disciple answered his question from sincere conviction or merely copied others.
Now here one point is very important. Sri Ramakrishna practiced various ways. He tried to attain the supreme truth through various ways, and he attained through all the paths. So he used to say, Ananta Mat, Ananta Path. There are so many innumerable ways. Why? Because there are so many innumerable thoughts, thinking. So he never discarded any thought. Rather, he tried to improve that aspirant in that attitude and mood. So this is very important. Modern day, what we see, people worship variously. And he also taught Swami Vivekananda this. Therefore, later Swamiji said that all efforts are for our own perfection. Therefore, all are valid. Even an artist, when one is making art, it is also for perfection. As Swamiji said, what is education? Education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. Education is the perfection already in man. And what is religion? Religion is realization. And it is manifestation of divinity that is already in man. So we have that perfection, we have that divinity within. That is to be manifested. That is our goal. That is what we are trying to do in various efforts. Therefore, all paths lead to the same goal. You call it perfection or call it divinity. Therefore, he never discarded anyone. And his chief devotee, chief disciple, Swami Vivekananda also taught the same truth in a rational and logical way. So, this is what Sri Ramakrishna would derive at from the various answers that he would receive from his disciples. Yes, go ahead.
29. First example, Purna Chandra and the kidnapping teacher. When Purna first came to the master, he was a mere boy, just a little over 13 years old. Mahendranath Gupta, a great devotee of the master, was then headmaster of the Shyambazar school established by Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Whenever he saw that any of his young students were devoted to God, he would take them to the master at Dakshineshwar. Teja Chandra, Narayan, Haripada, Binod, Junior Naren, Pramata, Paltu, and other boys from the Bagh Bazar area came to the master in this manner. For this reason, some of us humorously called Mahendra the kidnapping teacher. When the master heard this, he laughed and said, That is an appropriate name. Once, while Mahendra was teaching a class of 8th grade students, he was impressed with Purna's fine nature and sweet talk. Shortly afterwards, he arranged to introduce Purna to the master. This arrangement was made secretly because Purna's guardians were very strict and of a harsh temperament. If by chance the visit became known to them, both teacher and student would be humiliated. Purna therefore came to school at the usual time, went to Dakshineshwar in a hired carriage, returned to school before it closed, and then went home as usual.
Here, the pictures I can show you. So, Mahendranath Gupta, M, and also Purna. So, not only Purna, but many other students also came because of Mahendranath Gupta, M. Once Girish Chandra mentioned this in front of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna rebuked Girish Chandra. He said, shut up. Otherwise, people are already telling that he is the Chiledhara master. And if you tell, then people will obstruct in his mission, in his purpose, that he would inspire other students. So anyway, that is a funny way to say, but he was a great man in reality. You know, Sri Ramakrishna also sometimes would suggest that go to M. So Shubodh, later Swami Subodhananda. Sri Ramakrishna told him to go there, but he thought, I am a Tyagi, I am a renunciate. Why should I go him? He's a Grihastha. The next time he asked, did you go there? He said, no. He was so, he was very open. He said, no, you go there. So on his insistence, he went there. And then M told that I have few pitchers of Ganga water. And that I distribute to all people. That means it is purifying. And what are those? Those pitchers? It is full of Ganga water. It is only master's words. Because he would remember everything, what happened. And then he would narrate exactly how it happened. So it has a great and so humble. You can see in this picture, this is at Panchavati, where Sri Ramakrishna would meditate. So he would not sit there. Rather, he would sit at the where Sri Ramakrishna would put his feet. So he was such an humble person and very helpful to all. You know, he wanted to become a monk, but Sri Ramakrishna said, no, you have to do this. And he accepted that one. Anyway, next.
30. The master is pleased to meet Purna and talks about Purna's high spiritual state. The master was highly pleased to meet Purna that day. He very affectionately gave him some spiritual instructions and light refreshments. As Purna was leaving, the master told him, come here whenever you find an opportunity. Take a carriage. You can get your carriage fare from here. Later, the master told us, Purna is a part of Narayana and a spiritual aspirant endowed with a high degree of sattva. In this respect, he may be said to occupy a place just below Narendra, Swami Vivekananda. Long ago, I saw in a vision those who would be coming to attain spirituality. Purna's arrival completes that class of devotees. No one else of this caliber will come in the future.
Yeah, so here is a simply fact about Purna. Purna means complete. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna said, with Purna, now all my devotees have arrived. Yes, next.
31. The master is very affectionate towards Purna. On that day, Purna's spiritual mood was awakened. Memories of his past relationship with the master were revived, and he became completely calm and indrawn, with tears of joy rolling down his cheeks. Fearing his guardians, he controlled himself with great effort and returned home. From then on, the master was extremely eager to see Purna and to feed him. Whenever he found an opportunity, he sent various kinds of food to him through a devotee. He would instruct that person to give the food to Purna privately, for if his guardians found out, he could be punished.
So here one point is very important. As you come close to Sri Ramakrishna, you can find, that affinity that is already accumulated in our past lives. So this is extraordinary that Purna immediately could understand. For us, it may take a little time. It may also take some struggle. But as you come closer, you can gradually understand and love him. That it is not ordinary, it is extraordinary. Especially Sri Ramakrishna, the content, the manifestation this time is extraordinary. So, if someone don't understand, then one should pray to the Divine Mother. Mother will introduce what about Sri Ramakrishna and gradually will reveal what Sri Ramakrishna is. And naturally you'll find that affinity and that closeness. You can speak to him, you can love him. So this is very important. Purna could understand immediately. Yes.
32. The master's eagerness to see Purna. He asks Purna during their second meeting, "What do you think of me?" We sometimes saw the master profusely shedding tears in his eagerness to see Purna. When he saw that his behavior surprised us, he said, "You're amazed by my attraction to Purna. I wonder what you would have thought if you'd seen how I longed for Narendra in the beginning and how restless for him I was."
Similarly, he also longs for us. When I first read this book, all the time I was weeping. This book changed my life. And later, I took this book and also Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna and presented to my father. After reading this Leela Prasangas, my father scolded me. Why you delayed so much? Such a nectar, and you have delayed this. So, this happens. You'll feel attracted, you'll feel that closeness, nearness. So here we find Purna also felt that way. Yes.
From that point on, whenever the master was eager to see Purna, he would come to Calcutta at noon and wait at Balaram's or someone else's house near Purna's school. He would then send someone to bring Purna to him. Thus, Purna met the master for a second time in one of those places, Balaram's house, and was completely overwhelmed. On that occasion, the master fed him with his own hand like a loving mother and asked him, "Tell me, what do you think of me?" Overcome by exuberant devotion, Purna replied without hesitation, "You are God himself, incarnated in flesh and blood."
No, go ahead. So this is, one feels that way. Even M.K. Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, said this when he read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. He said, after going through, one can feel that one is face to face in front of God. So this is, his life is such a life that one can experience God when one goes through his life. And not only that, he loves us so much. He shed tears. For Narendranath, he did much. But for all of devotees, he would call, at Dakshineshwar, after he completed his sadhana for 12 years, then when there is arati in the temples, there are lots of noise, they make kasar ghanta and all kinds of, they sing and then bell. So that time Sri Ramakrishna would go to the roof of Kuti Badi, where he is to dwell. And from there he would call from rooftop, "Oh my children, where are you? Come, I cannot remain without you." That call is going on. Only those who are fortunate, they will get that call. He's calling even now. Only those who are fortunate will get that call. Yes.
Oops. My screen just, there we go. 33. The master was delighted by Purna's answer, and he gave him spiritual instructions. The master was filled
33?
with what?
33.
Oh, sorry. From that point on. All right. The screen went blank and then it went to the next page. Okay. From that point on, whenever the master was eager to see Purna, he would come to Calcutta at noon and wait at Balaram's or someone else's house near Purna's school. Wait. Sorry. No, all right. No, we were at 33, right, Swami?
No, you can start at 30. No, 31.
No, wait, Swami, we just read, "You are God himself incarnated in flesh and blood." That was the end, right? And now we're at, the master was delighted by Purna's answer, and we're at 33, I believe.
Oh, then you have in between you have skipped this. 31 and 32. 30 and 31.
No. We just,
Okay, so 31 you start. 31.
Swami, we just read that. That was, oh, wait, you know what? Oh, no, yeah, we did. The master is very affectionate towards Purna. And then if his guardians found out, he would be punished. So I think we're at 33.
One day, on that day, Purna's spiritual mood was awakened. Memories of his past relationship with Master were revived, and he became completely calm and indrawn. The tears of joy rolling down his cheeks. Fearing his guardians, he controlled himself with great effort. Yes, that you have done.
Okay.
We sometimes saw the Master profusely shedding tears in the eagerness to see Purna. When he saw that his behavior surprised us, he said, "You are amazed by my attraction to Purna. I wonder what you would have thought if you would seen how I longed for Narendra in the beginning and how restless for him I was." From that point on, whenever the master was eager to see Purna, he would come to Calcutta at noon and wait at Balaram's or someone else's house. Yes, 33.
We just read that.
Yes, 33.
33. The master was delighted by Purna's answer, and he gave him spiritual instructions. The master was filled with wonder and joy when he knew that the young Purna had accepted him as the highest spiritual ideal. He blessed Purna wholeheartedly and initiated him with a mantra and gave him some spiritual instructions in secret. After he had returned to Dakshineshwar, the master told us, well, Purna is a mere boy and his intellect hasn't yet matured. How did he recognize me as an incarnation of God? Under the influence of a divine nature, some others have also answered that question as he did. It must be due to impressions accumulated over past lives that the truth in its entirety is naturally revealed in their pure sattvic minds.
Correct. So reincarnation is a proven factor. Though modern rationalists may not accept it, but we see prodigal children. They do wonders. Even singing, we see very young artists. Even there is a boy, 7-year-old professor. So lots of talents that we see, and there is only one way we can explain it, that it is from his past life. It is accumulated impressions that we have. So therefore, nothing is destroyed. Whatever we are doing today, the good, bad, or indifferent, that is being accumulated. That is why we need to cultivate good thoughts. And gradually, that will lead us to higher realm. We should not miss the opportunity whenever that opportunity comes to cultivate good thoughts. Sometimes we say, oh, what is, it's the same thing we are reading again and again. No, it has its effect and it accumulates. And in course of time that fructifies. Yes. Go ahead.
34. Purna's greatness, although, sorry, there we go.
Although he was a householder.
Right, although he was a householder. It so happened that circumstances forced Purna to marry and lead a family life. But those who were close to him unanimously described his unique faith, dependence on God, love for sadhana, humility, and self-sacrifice in all situations. 35. Second example. The master asks Vaikunta the same question. His answer.
Okay, here, the Purna later, he accepted a job and went to the British, that time, second capital, that is in Himalayas. He would be there, but always he was full of Sri Ramakrishna and would preach to others the love of God and to lead a good life. Only it did not flourish that much because he was somehow had to accept Grihastha life. So naturally his the full manifestation could not come. But wherever he was a wonderful devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. Yes.
35. Second example. The master asks Vaikunta the same question. His answer. We shall mention an example of the master's asking this question of another devotee. In the master's room, there was a picture of Chaitanya and his devotees singing kirtan. One day, he pointed that picture out to one of our friends. There's a footnote there, I actually can tell you, which is Vaikunta not Sanyal, says the translator. Shortly after his first visit, and asked, do you see how absorbed they are in the divine mood? Vaikunta, sir, they are low-class people. The master, what are you saying? You shouldn't say that. Vaikunta, yes, sir, I come from Nadia, and I know that only low-class people become Vaishnavas. Should check the other footnotes, Swami?
Yeah.
Nadia is the
Nadia-
birthplace of Chaitanya and of Bengal Vaishnavism.
Yes.
The master. Oh, your home is in Nadia? Then I salute you a second time. Well, Ram and others say that this, pointing to himself, is an avatar. What do you think? Vaikunta. They estimate you very poorly, sir. The master. What? They call me an incarnation of God, and you think that is a poor estimation? Vaikunta. Yes, sir. An avatar is a part of God, but I look upon you as Shiva himself. The master. Indeed. Vaikunta. So indeed do I think of you. I can't help it. You ask me to meditate on Shiva, but though I try every day, I can't do so. Whenever I sit for meditation, your loving and blissful face appears before me in a luminous form. I can't replace it with the form of Shiva, nor do I want to. So I regard you as Shiva himself. The master smiling. Is that so? But I know I'm as insignificant as a hair on your head. Both laughed. I've been anxious about you, but today I'm relieved.
Yeah,
We do not know.
Just a minute. Vaikuntha Sanyal wrote a memoir. So he used to feel Sri Ramakrishna as his companion when in front of him. But when he would go away from him, he said, "Ore, Baba, what, whom I was in front of whom?" So this sense of awe would come to him. But he always respected Sri Ramakrishna as, or thought Sri Ramakrishna as Shiva. Yes.
We do not know whether Vaikunta understood at that time why the master made that last statement. Under similar circumstances, our hearts were filled with joy, knowing that the master was pleased, and we had no desire to know what his words meant. But now we understand that the master said those words to Vaikunta because he had accepted the master as the highest spiritual ideal.
Yeah. Go ahead.
36.
Hmm.
Never trust a person whose words and actions do not agree. The master made special efforts to ensure that his devotees would carefully observe every one of his actions and the manner in which he conducted himself, and accept him as the highest spiritual ideal only after they had understood him properly. He often told us, watch a sadhu, holy man, by day and by night, and then put your faith in him. The master always encouraged us to discover whether a sadhu practiced what he taught. He told us never, never to trust a man whose actions did not tally with his words and whose mind was not one with his speech. He told us the following story in this connection. 37. The master's story about a physician and a sick boy. A man's young son continuously suffered from indigestion. The father took his boy to a famous physician in a remote village for treatment. The physician examined the boy and diagnosed his condition, but instead of prescribing any medicine, he asked them to return the next day. When the father went with his son on the following day, the physician told the boy, "Stop eating molasses and you will be cured. You don't need any other medicine." When the boy left the room, the father said to the doctor, "Sir, you could have easily said that yesterday and saved us the trouble of coming here again today." The physician replied, "I had a reason. You might have noticed yesterday that there were some jars of molasses in my room. If I had asked the boy to give up molasses then, he would have thought me a peculiar man indeed. This doctor enjoys molasses himself and is now forbidding me to eat it. If he had this thought in mind, he would have had no faith in my words and would have paid no heed to them. So I didn't give that instruction to the boy until I had removed the molasses from my room."
Yeah, so this is very important because hypocrisy is not spiritual way. To practice spirituality, one must be whatever one says, walking the talk. One should walk the talk. This is very important. It is practice. Spirituality is nothing but practice. We know theories. Theory is not spirituality. Rather, to practice those values in one's life is spirituality. So Sri Ramakrishna would always see that man mukh ek kara. One should be, one should unite whatever is one's own mind, that he should speak. He should behave also like that. Does it mean that if someone, we should criticize someone if we see something wrong? Not that. Then you are finding faults. Finding faults means faults are within you. As Swamiji said, a boy would not see or would not recognize a thief because there is no thief within. If a person recognizes a thief, means thief is within you. So that's why one should not be a hypocrite. One should walk the talk. That is very important. Spiritual life. Yes.
38. The devotees tested the master. Thus encouraged by the master, we carefully observed his conduct. Some of us did not hesitate to test him. He gladly put up with our excessive demands and unreasonable behavior, understanding that we were sincerely trying to increase our faith and devotion. The reader will understand this clearly from the following example.
So otherwise, people would be angry if a person is testing one's guru, then the guru might be angry that you are testing me. You have so much of temerity that you have courage to test me. One should not test just out of fun. Rather, one to convince oneself. And the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna had another reason to test. It is for us. Otherwise, we would not have that faith. One thing I pointed out that one should not find faults with others and tell in their face. It is said, Satyam vada, Priyam vada. Satyam briyat, Priyam briyat, ma briyat, Satyam apriyam. One should speak the truth, but not unpalatable. Rather, one should hold oneself. So there is another teaching there. How one can hold oneself. You know, it is easy. It's like if someone has say diarrhea, one cannot control oneself. So one should not be like that. One should have that control. Rather, one should find faults with oneself, as mother said. Rather, you find faults with yourself. Where is my fault? That means I am seeing something wrong. Maybe that fault is within me. So this is the spiritual way, and one should follow in spiritual life. Yes.
39. An example, the story of Swami Yogananda. We have already told the reader some stories about Swami Yogananda. The following incident concerned him, and he later told us about it. We shall first provide the reader with a brief biography of Yogananda, then narrate the story. Yogindra Nath Roy Chowdhury, who became Yogananda as a monk, was born into the family of the famous Savarna Chowdhury. His father, Navin Chandra, was once a wealthy landowner. His family had lived in Dakshineshwar for generations. Before Yogindra or Yogin was born, and when he was young, their house reverberated with the sounds of worship, kirtan, and recitals of the Mahabharata and the Bhagavata. The master said that during his sadhana, he visited Yogin's home many times to listen to discourses on Hari and was acquainted with some of his family members. Before Yogin had left his boyhood, however, the Chowdhury dynasty lost most of its property, owing partly to a family dispute and partly to other reasons. The family eventually became poor.
So we'll stop here because time is up today. Because this will go on. So here the incident is how Yogin Maharaj, Yogananda ji, even tested Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna was pleased, he was not angry. So this is for us. We should not go on testing things like we are inspectors, like health inspectors, they go on testing people or whether this drain is working or not. So we should not be health inspector, rather we should try to see what difficulties or what faults that we have. So anyway, thank you very much.
Questions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
From David Blumenschein, talking about fault finding in others. What about when one has overly internalized this process of finding fault in oneself, where the faults aren't there or the amounts are distorted? How to get rid of that?
Read it again.
So talking about fault finding with others, what about when one has overly internalized this process of finding fault in oneself, where the faults are...
Finding faults with oneself is good. Then if you find faults, that means you have diagnosed the ailment. And now next is how to remove it. So how to remove it? Prayer. And then japa, that repetition of name of God. Then gradually all the dross you'll get rid of all the dross, all the difficulties. So finding faults with oneself is good. But one should not stop there. Rather, one should try to remove it. So how to remove it? By prayer. You know, prayer has got a tremendous power. Only you have to discover it. And repetition of the mantra. And suppose you cannot repeat all the time, or all the time you are not praying. Do something good for others. If you have no work, at least volunteer. So that way, gradually heart will be cleansed. And then that fault finding will go away. And the faults that you have discovered within, that also will go away. Because you are not thinking about it. Yeah. Thank you very much. Is Akshay there?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So that so in this age, everyone will have to become everyone should become devotee of Sri Ramakrishna in the beginning we were discussing.
Everyone cannot appreciate this. But Sri Ramakrishna is not against any path. He said, Ananta path, Ananta mat. The opinions are many, infinite in number. Therefore, paths are also infinite. So it is not required that everybody should follow Sri Ramakrishna. But those who have that quality will come here. They cannot go anywhere else. They won't find that joy. this Brahmin of Dakshineshwar has got very special character. And if someone can discover this, he won't be allured by anything else. But everybody cannot understand this. So naturally, there are so many eateries. God created so many eateries, and everyone should get some business. So at least we have no problem with them. Okay, eat wherever it is possible, wherever it's convenient to you. But those who have understood this ideal, recognize this ideal, cannot enjoy anywhere else. And they'll come here, and Sri Ramakrishna would attract him. Sri Ramakrishna said, what is the criteria? If someone have shed tears for God even once, he'll have to come here. And I know for certain, those who are attracted here, they have shed tears in their lives at least once. I'm sure about it. Right? So those who will shed tears for God will come here. But some people may not have that. They want to experience the world. They want to see also various paths. They have many questions. So they can experience all other paths. Right? Very good. Thank you. Very good question.
Thank you.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tatsat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. I have seen, some devotees are, they were following some other paths. But when they read the life of Sri Ramakrishna, they gradually come here. So, initially they took a little time to get ready for this. And when that time was ripe, then he or she came here. So this is natural. And also those who may not understand the ideal, they may drift from here also. It's possible. Okay, thank you.
Maharaj, thank you.
Namaste, namaste.
Pranams Maharaj.